It's pretty good.
Yeah.
What's this?
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Maybe we should wait till you start playing.
No, just describe my tester first. I'm gonna stop it.
How much memory do you have?
I don't know. Stop it. Stop it.
Is it this button?
Yeah.
very nice to be here. Thank you very much. This is our, like you heard, our maiden voyage. Well, it's my maiden voyage here to this part of Oregon. I've been to Oregon many times, but woke up this morning looking at the waves outside the window, and I know that I hadn't seen that before, so it was quite a sight. And it's very nice to have all of the rain put on for the Celtic Festival. It's been a joy all day. It's actually been very, very nice. We've enjoyed the rain. We started off there with a couple of tunes. The first tune was written by, it's called the Charleston, written by a very good friend of mine, a piano accordion player from Chicago by the name of Jimmy Keane, and he wrote that tune after, oddly enough, after he'd been to Charleston. So that's how names of tunes happen. You just go someplace and you name a tune after it. And then the tune after that is called The Contradiction. I believe it's called The Contradiction. I don't know where that is though. But Owen here. This is Owen Marshall, everyone. And Owen really needs the overall level of his monitor to come down, or something terrible is going to happen up here. We don't know what's going to happen, but how's that? Owen's happy. Okay. So we're going to continue now with another tune. A couple of tunes that I wrote, actually sort of appropriate for today perhaps because of the weather. It's called Rory Bumlers, which sounds like it could possibly be someone's name, but it's not. There is no Mr. or Mrs. Rory Bumler. It's a tune named after it's an old English term that I came across, but I just like the sound of the two words. It's an old English term for storm clouds, which there seem to be plenty today. And so there you are. If you're out and about and you're walking with your friend or whomever, and you don't have much to say to one another, and it's gotten awkwardly quiet, one of you can just look up at the sky and just go, some Rory Bumlers are coming in. So they'll be mightily impressed or concerned. So here's Rory Bumlers. Thank you. Well, so that's a storm cloud on a banjo and guitars and bazookies. This next couple of tunes, a couple of tunes I wrote quite a while ago. The first tune is actually, I realised I hadn't written very many waltzes over the years, and I thought, well, maybe I'd write a waltz, and so I wrote it for the band that I'd been a part of for the last bunch of years, Solace, and I wrote it for played it for them in the band, and they sort of looked at me after I played it for them, and they asked me if I knew that a waltz was meant to be in 3. And I said, of course, everyone knows that. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Well, they said that waltz that you've just written is in 5. So, and I mentioned that just not to get into a whole theory class here during the concert, but just in case you feel the urge to get up and start waltzing, there are 2 extra steps you ought to be aware of. I don't want anyone falling over and hurting themselves. So it's a waltz that's not a waltz, and then I called it Sunday's Waltz, and it doesn't really have very much to do with the Sunday. We could easily call it Friday's Waltz, and that's today, right? Yeah, it could be Friday. We could call it Friday's Waltz, since it's not a waltz and the day doesn't matter. So that's that tune, and then the tune after that is poor Owen's getting very confused now. The tune after that is I tried to write a jig, and but I knew after I wrote this that it was definitely not a jig. We had been playing at a festival in Portugal a number of years ago, and before going up on the stage, they were handing out these little shot cups, sort of like little espresso cups, and they called it a solo, but it was just this little cup. It was like filled with rocket fuel. It's called a solo, and I asked for a double, and then I sort of wrote this tune, and I called it Solo Double O. And since it's a jig, it's not really a jig, and if you feel the urge to start dancing a jig, just be very careful, because it's a quite crooked tune, and we don't want you banging your shins on the chairs or your dancing partner. a few years back, Solis made an album that was based on a story from my family's history, and it involved a great uncle of mine, a fellow by the name of Michael Conway, who had left his home in Ireland and come to America. He landed on the East Coast in the early 1900s, but that wasn't where he was going to stay. His goal was to, and he reached there, he went out to Butte, Montana to work in the copper mines there. Did I hear someone clapping for Butte? You're everywhere. But my great-uncle Michael ended up there working in the copper mines. You see, in the late 1800s, they discovered the largest vein of copper ore anywhere in the North American continent, right there in Butte. And Butte became this boom town practically overnight. And people from all over the world started to make their way there. But of all the countries that would have been represented there, there was no country better or more represented than Ireland, because it was a time in American history when the rest of the country wasn't all that welcoming or friendly to the Irish. There were no Celtic festivals, let's say that. And quite often job notices in the cities on the East Coast and the West Coast and the coast in the middle, they'd have job notices saying, with disclaimers attached to them saying no Irish need apply. But that wasn't the case in Butte, and if you were able to make that journey, you were pretty much guaranteed some work in one of the many copper mines there. It was so good. When we were working on the project, we came across a letter that this fella had written back to his family, still in Ireland, and in particular to his brother. He wanted to let them know that he was doing fine, but he also wanted his brother to come out and join him. And in the letter, he said to him, "Come directly to Butte. Don't even stop in America." It was good. It was good to be Irish in Butte in the early 1900s, late 1800s. But that's where our Michael ended up. Now, the ending to his story isn't all that well. It's sad, and so I won't tell you what happened, except that it's sad. But you probably gathered it was heading in that direction anyway. But we wrote this album about Butte and about Michael and his journey and all of that. But we're going to do one of the instrumentals, and because it has no words, it's one of the cheerier tracks on the album. Yeah, it's pretty cheery, I guess, relatively speaking. And it's called "Girls on the Line." I'll play this for our Butte friends here. very much. So that was just a couple of reels on the low whistle, and for those of you taking notes, it was the F low whistle. So we're going to play another tune. Yeah. I'm not, of those two tunes, I don't know what the first one is called. The second one is an old, very old traditional tune called the Longford Collector. Just biding time to try and remember how this next tune starts. There we go. Right. Here. What was that?
Never heard a banjo play that way.
Oh, I hope that's a good thing, is it? You can take that any number of ways. I'll take it in a good way, and thank you. That was a tune that I wrote for, well, on the occasion of my youngest sister running off and and getting married and not telling her mother, which went over as well as you could imagine. So I thought that the situation called for a tune to help mend the fences. So I wrote this tune and I played it for them, and I'm happy to report it worked. It really did. And yeah, I don't have that kind of power, but yeah, everything is actually fine. And I called it Mr. and Mrs. Walsh, which is my sister's married name now, and also how my mother refers to her youngest daughter and her new son-in-law, but in the most affectionate of ways, of course. But that's a tune that I wrote there for an album, actually the last album that Solace recorded, which was our 20th. It was a